Hare Krishna. This is not a part of the 50 years series. Somehow I stopped doing that for a while, but I hope to get back to it. But it was Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day a few days ago. And as always, it's a day that's kind of cathartic, building up to it and thinking about, remembering Srila Prabhupada's disappearance and, thinking about what do we want to say, what do we want to share on this day. It's a difficult day for a lot of Prabhupada disciples, maybe for others also, and especially if you're there. I did describe being there on his disappearance in some of those videos that I've done for the 50 years. So, if you want to know more about that, that's there in the 50 years series. But in thinking about what to say on this day, I started meditating on different qualities and characteristics of Srila Prabhupada. And I realized, I got some inspiration, and then I realized, this is not going to work for the day, because usually you're allowed, 4 or 5 minutes maximum. And my meditation just kept going on and on. So it wound up being something that I couldn't convey on the day. So a few days later, I had a small gathering, 20 devotees or so, and I shared what my meditations about this day had been. And because there wasn't a recording, I was asked to speak it again. So I'm going to try to do that right now. So of course, Prabhupada's departure, it's very devastating to recall. And so it's a tough day because, there's the agony and the ecstasy. It's a very mixed day of bitterness and sweetness. And, we can understand from that, why it is that separation is the highest thing. Because the emotions are so strong. So anyway, I will try to speak about this a bit. But first, let me offer my prayers to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskacha Desatarnani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda Manchakopatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhavyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So yes, the emotions run high on this day, and on many different levels. On one hand, I always feel like just too small, too tiny, too like remembering back, just feeling like I was just, a baby straight out of the womb. How could we understand what was really taking place there? So over time, gradually we understand more and more. And, also it's just Srila Prabhupada, as we understand more, Srila Prabhupada himself just feels more and more incomprehensible. We get smaller and smaller, and he gets bigger and bigger. And so it seems like there's too much to say and too little qualification to say it. So it's as I described when I was talking about Srila Prabhupada's departure in 77, how, a few days afterwards, we took Srila Prabhupada's Murti, which was a new experience for us, to take Srila Prabhupada on the palanquin in his Murti form around Govardhan. And that was truly ecstasy and agony. And I remember very clearly, I did convey this in my talk, but I'll mention it again because it was a profound moment for me, that we finished up at Kusum Sarovara, and we had a big feast there. Maybe there was less monkeys at that time. I think Bibi Govinda or Ayodhyapati at the time cooked that feast or managed to bring that feast there. And someone had arranged for Prabhupada's Krishna Meditations recording to be playing on loudspeakers that were just blasting off over Govardhan Hill. And hearing that, Krishna Kirtana Ganana Paro, Srila Prabhupada, it just struck me so strongly that Prabhupada is here, Prabhupada is present, and yet he's not. So this new emotion, this new feeling of understanding, somehow or another he's here, and yet he's gone. So Prabhupada teaching us he had to teach us everything from A, B, C. So he had to teach us also some little drop or some little aspect of this mood of separation and what it means and how profound and how deep it is. And it's interesting, as time goes by, in spiritual life, things are often completely opposite than in material life. Like when you lose someone materially, they say time heals it, and, gradually over time, people just forget. But it's the opposite in spiritual life, that over time, that feeling of separation and that feeling of loss, it grows, and it grows, so that every year, you have greater insight into who is this personality of Srila Prabhupada. Who is he? And the more we glimpse that, the greater we feel our loss. Like if you don't understand the value of something, then it's not a big deal if you lose it. But the more we understand who Srila Prabhupada is, the more we feel the depth of loss in his separation. So that grows. It grows with our realization that if Krishna kindly from within our heart gives us more realization about who is Srila Prabhupada. And that just seems to grow and grow and grow. It seems to be unlimited. I mean, even though we have so many books about Prabhupada, so many videos, so many devotees talking about him, but there's no end to it. We just keep hearing more. And it is astonishing. It really is, and Prabhupada was with us for such a short time. And yet we have so much to say about him and so much more to know about him. So recently, when I sat down and I was trying to write some notes of something to say on his disappearance, I just had this, inspiration of how Srila Prabhupada's qualities and his characteristics are so vast and so kind of multidimensional that he seemed to embody the qualities of each of the 6 Goswamis. And so I started meditating on that, each Goswami, what they were like, and how Srila Prabhupada was similar in many ways. And then after the 6th, then I started thinking also of Lokanath Goswami and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, because there were some very striking similarities there also. And they are often included as the 8 Goswamis or the Asta Manjaris. So that's what this talk is about. It's about exploring all the 8 Goswamis and how Srila Prabhupada imbibed each of the qualities and characteristics of each of them. So I will begin with Sanatana Goswami. And as we know, Sanatana Goswami, he's very famous for his kindness and his caring and his, as we've heard stories of how Sanatana Goswami liked to wander in Braj, and he liked to sit and talk with the Brajabasis, all the Brajabasis. He was like a father to them. That he would talk about how is your daughter's marriage and how are the crops. And so he was very personable, very present in a very fatherly and caring and kind way to all the Brajabasis. So much so that on his departure, all of the men in Braj shaved their head. And that's what you do when the father leaves. That's the ritual, that you shave your head. So the Brajabasis saw Sanatana Goswami so much like a father that so it's indicative of his relationship and his personality, of how people felt about him. And actually that departure day is on Guru Purnima. And so then this became a tradition that, that day, actually they were regularly doing parikrama all together on that day. And he did not come out from his kutir, one of those Guru Purnima parikrama days. So even to today, many people do parikrama in remembrance of Sanatana Goswami. I had the experience one time. I was there at the Govardhan Palace and somehow wound up chatting with some of the pilgrims going by. And, I was asking, well, why do you do this? And do you do it every year? And, and that pilgrim said, Sanatana Goswami, to honor Sanatana Goswami. And I was stunned, I'm sure not all of those millions of people are aware of Sanatana Goswami, but some of them still are. So he was the father to the Brajabasis and very, very kind. And so Srila Prabhupada, obviously is so similar in this respect, that he was a father to all of his thousands of disciples, just totally like a father. And he even addressed every letter of his, I think something like 6,000 letters Srila Prabhupada wrote. Can you imagine? In the midst of travel and translation and the growing ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada was handwriting thousands and thousands of letters to my dear daughter, my dear sons. And that's how Srila Prabhupada saw us. And Prabhupada, like a father, he guided us in every aspect of our life. He taught us how to be clean, how to cook, how to take care of health, marriages, problems. Prabhupada was so much a father, like Sanatana Goswami, to all of us. And we were, we became orphans our father left, Prabhupada was father and mother. And, most of us were still in our 20s. If you think about that, the whole society was mostly nobody over 30, or a little over, I think I was 27, when we were orphaned and we lost our father. So maybe any mistakes we made after that could be forgiven to some extent, considering who we were and how early we lost Srila Prabhupada. And also, Sanatana Goswami is the Sambandha Acharya, meaning that he, his forte, his special, unique seva is establishing the relationship, establishing the foundation, the relationship of individual souls with Krishna, that we are the eternal servants and Krishna is our eternal master. So this was a focus of Sanatana Goswami, and his deity of Madan Mohan represents this tattva, Sambandha Gyan. And similarly, Srila Prabhupada certainly, he brought that Sambandha Gyan, he brought it out from Vrindavan to the world, and repeating again and again and again this foundational wisdom that we are all servants of Madan Mohan, that enchanting master of all. And also Srila Prabhupada, very early on, he established a Madan Mohan deity. I don't know if he was the first, very early, in Washington, D.C., very interesting, just, a few kilometers from the capital or the center of the United States. There's the real controller is sitting there. The real capital is there where Madan Mohan, who is the one who enchants the hearts. And, this is the first step in Krishna realization, is that, our hearts have to be pulled away from the attraction of the material energy and drawn to the beauty of Madan Mohan. So, in this way, Srila Prabhupada, he also, he embodied and carried on that mission of Sanatana Goswami, establishing that Sambandha Gyan very clearly throughout the world. So then Rupa Goswami, he is known as the Rasa Acharya. That was his speciality, to convey the sumptuous taste of the highest spiritual emotions in bhakti. This is something incredible and unique in the world. The bringing forward and the exposing how high emotions can go in loving relationship with Krishna. So that was obviously, similarly, Srila Prabhupada, he gave us taste, rasa. He gave us taste. Otherwise, how is it possible? We were all these young people who were immersed. We didn't want to hear anything about rules or rituals or following any religion or following any authority. We were just against all of that, not interested. And yet, Srila Prabhupada, because what he gave us was so tasty and so nourishing that we just went the opposite way. Yeah, okay, we'll do all this. We'll follow all the rules and we'll do all these things. And it had nothing to do with dry ritual or religion. It had to do with spiritual taste. And Prabhupada could just convey that. And so, in this way, he really was the similarities with Srila Rupa Goswami, who also is known as the Abhideya Acharya, which means, Abhideya means how to act in that original relationship. Okay, now we know that we're the eternal servants of Krishna. Now, what do we do with that? How do we act in that relationship? And Srila Rupa Goswami especially wrote so much about this. Like our nectar of instruction. It's everything about how do we act? How do we do this? And his deity of Govindaji, which he established, that deity represents this tattva. And so similarly, Srila Prabhupada, he just amazingly and expertly taught this process of active engagement, not just sitting around, not just, thinking, meditating, but actively engaging in devotional service. And many times in many letters, Srila Prabhupada would say, just be engaged in devotional service 24/7. And how Prabhupada did that in such a unique way, in ways that nobody has ever done before. How to engage all these young people. Prabhupada created all this devotional activities in such a unique way. And also his deity, Govindaji, was installed very early on in New York, again, one of the most important cities in the world at the time. And Prabhupada put Govindadev there. And so in this way, Prabhupada did embody, the mood and the mission of Srila Rupa Goswami. So then there is Raghunath Das Goswami, and he is known as our Prayojana Acharya, or one who shows the ultimate goal. Where do you arrive after you understand who you are and how to engage in devotional service? And then what unfolds? What is the result? And he showed the ultimate goal, that total surrender and full immersion in deepest love, specifically for Srimati Radharani. And there he was, Raghunath Das Goswami, just sitting on the bank of Radhakund, immersed in this highest devotional mood. And, so similarly, Srila Prabhupada, he showed what total surrender looks like. There's a story, isn't it in the Bhagavatam, about Dadichi, how he was, this great sage, and he was asked for his bones. In other words, give his life, which he did. And that's Srila Prabhupada. He gave it all, everything, not a moment lost. And you see, I recently saw a little video clip a few days ago. And you see how Srila Prabhupada, well, I was there when Prabhupada left Vrindavan in a state of total emaciation. I mean, just, maybe moments before death. And yet, he got the desire to go and preach, to give more, like he hadn't given enough. And that's what inspired him, and that's what gave him life. So, we were there at the gate, watching them carry, like Prabhupada, just like a bundle of bones, like carry like a baby and place him laying down on the back seat of a car so that he could go travel to give more to his disciples. It's just inconceivable how Prabhupada could do that. And that little video showed how he arrived there, what he looked like. He could barely see. And his emotions were just running so high. And, so Prabhupada was showing something just inconceivable, what it means to fully give body, mind, words, life, every second in service, in ecstasy. And also we know how Srila Prabhupada prayed on the Jaladuta. He said, I emphatically say to you, O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. So Prabhupada was explaining this to us. This is the goal, that when we can please Srimati Radharani, then things will go forward, in this mood of Raghunath Das Goswami. And, there's a famous verse, I chant this in my puja in the morning. Yata yata gora padara vindeta bhaktim krita punya rasahi tatata tot sarpati shridjakasmad radha padamboja sudhambu rasahi. So that verse, beautiful verse, this means that to the degree that we surrender to Lord Chaitanya's service, to that degree we gain qualification for the service to Radharani's lotus feet in Braja. So who has ever shown more total surrender to Lord Chaitanya's service than Srila Prabhupada? So we have no doubt of the certain, that he is completely a recipient of Srimati Radharani's mercy. And the Gopinath deity that represents this Prayojana Tattva. And Prabhupada, he also installed Gopinath. He's in Radhadesh now with his gopis, 2 gopis. And I think he was originally installed in Amsterdam. But in this way, Srila Prabhupada was the embodiment of Raghunath Das Goswami. Then we go to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. We know that he established and he wrote about all the standards of deity worship, and that he showed also how through his love and his desire to serve, the Lord manifested personally out of a Shalagram Shila, the beautiful little Radharamanji. And so very similarly, Srila Prabhupada did a miraculous establishment of deities all over the world where there were never deities. And along with it, teaching the proper standards. And very personally, Prabhupada taught. Mostly he taught ladies. The Gauri, Shilavati, Yamuna, they were all the teachers of these proper standards, as Prabhupada taught them personally. And then this was brought to every continent for the first time in history. This has never happened before, that there's deities all over the world being worshipped by proper standards. And, Prabhupada, he called all of these deities to manifest, and they came. These primary deities of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Govindaji, Madan Mohan, Gopinath, Radha-Raman. And, Prabhupada had the potency to do this miraculous, putting Krishna on all continents. Such power, such Shakti. I heard this, that Srila Prabhupada, when he was bringing, I think also in Gopinath to Sydney, didn't he? And then Prabhupada made a prayer and said, I'm leaving you in the hands of the Malechas. Kindly guide them from within their heart how to serve you. So you just imagine, Prabhupada was taking such a risk, leaving the Lord in the hands of often very unqualified people. That's the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. In this way, Srila Prabhupada was the embodiment of carrying on the mission and showing the mood of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And then Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, he was with Mahaprabhu in Puri, and then he was sent to Vrindavan. And he was given the seva, just as Mahaprabhu was telling each person what you're supposed to do. You go to Vrindavan, Nityananda, you go to Navadvip. Mahaprabhu was orchestrating the service of all of his devotees. And the service of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was that he would go to Vrindavan and he would be the reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam. He would be the speaker. And we know in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj talks about how his classes were just incredible, how he could recite the Bhagavatam in different tones, different tunes, and so exquisitely that everybody came to listen to him, Rupa, Sanatan, everyone, even though he was junior. But he was such a Bhagavatam reciter that everyone loved, and he would recite at, especially at Govindaji. He was very devoted to Govindaji also. And so the Bhagavatam was his deity. Srimad Bhagavatam was the deity of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. And similarly, Srila Prabhupada, when he left for America, he only took one thing, just one thing. He took the Srimad Bhagavatam. That was his mission, to give Srimad Bhagavatam to the world. And he dedicated his life completely to the Bhagavatam, translating, speaking, and distributing, and so much so that now, every day, in hundreds of temples, hundreds of homes around the world, there's a recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. And again, this never happened before. This is miraculous. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of classes are going every morning, Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the verses and speaking Bhagavatam. In this way, Prabhupada totally embodied the spirit of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Now there's Sri Jiva Goswami. And when I think of Sri Jiva Goswami, I think that Srila Prabhupada was most like him. So much like Sri Jiva Goswami. Because Jiva Goswami is known as the Siddhanta Acharya, that the protector of the Sampradaya. And he established, the headquarters of the whole mission, really, at Radha Damodar temple right there, which Prabhupada said is the spiritual hub of the universe. And so Sri Jiva Goswami, he was the mastermind behind establishing Lord Chaitanya's mission on solid philosophical ground, in a systematic and a scholarly way, and an irrefutable way. This is a huge thing. He wrote an astounding quantity of shlokas. I think it's something like in the millions, something incredible amount of writing that he did. And amongst all the Goswamis, he was really the most versatile, just amazingly diverse personality that was doing so many things and was expert in so many things. He literally did all of the practical work to establish the mission. He was, these things were started under Rup Sanatan, but there was so much to keep it all going. And so he was managing temples, he was overseeing construction, he was doing legal work, he was making political alliances, and he had this incredible foresight to protect the deities and the properties in a legal way that had never been done before. Apparently he's the first one, also wrote a will. And, he just had so much foresight of how all of this is to be protected. And it's said that we still have these temples, Govindaji, in Vrindavan, because of his foresight. And also he was the first that began, they didn't have printing yet, but they were copying the books and getting all these people to come and copying the books, and then book distribution and training the second generation. He had his school at Radha Damodar, his library there, established a library, and, knowing, how will things go forward when everyone's gone? So training Narottam, Srinivas, Shamananda, and then sending them out for the first time on book distribution. And he was also the mediator between camps. Yes, there were many camps, especially between the Bengal and Vrindavan. They had Janava Mata in Bengal, and she was writing to Jiva Goswami. They were connecting regularly to try to solidify. Of course, there's many different viewpoints, different camps, so many things. But everything was under his care, Jiva Goswami. He was the youngest, and yet there was no reluctance to put him in charge of everything after Rup and Sanatan departed. And also, despite his being this incredible scholar and writer, and he was a great pujari. He loved his Radha Damodar, given to him by Sri Rupa Goswami, and he had his impeccable sadhana, and no one could defeat him in argument. So you can see so much similarity with Srila Prabhupada, that clearly Prabhupada was a mastermind behind ISKCON, behind this whole mission. He put everything in place, And, you know, when we're just babies, we don't know what's going on. Prabhupada's already written the mission statement and made it legal, you know, the institution. And Prabhupada would do the banking and the management and the training and, you know, directed the massive printing and the massive book distribution. And he also, you know, in order to protect the books and the deities that he established, he created the BBT and the MVT trust so that, you know, there would be money for caring for the deities and, you know, things would be protected on into the future. And all the while doing these things, writing every day throughout the night, traveling, preaching, writing letters, nonstop, and staying up throughout the night to write in such a prodigious and scholarly way. And no one could defeat Prabhupada. You see so many videos of him talking. Like there's one when he's talking to some scholars in LA in his garden. And these are all like really highly intelligent, very highly placed academic scholars. And you can see how they just, they become silent. They become like children in front of him. You know, Prabhupada had that impact because he knows what he's saying. He's just not talking from the mind. It's not a mental thing. And, you know, and again, it's absolutely no coincidence that he made his home at Radha Damodar, the same as Jiva Goswami, right there in the hub of the universe. And, you know, how he would take inspiration from Sri Jiva Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami. There's many stories about Prabhupada deriving his inspiration there at that most amazing place of Sri Jiva Goswami. And again, Prabhupada was also very dear, Radha Damodar was very dear to Srila Prabhupada. Radha Damodar in Vrindavan, Jiva Goswami, but also his own establishing Radha Damodar that would travel. He would bring Radha Damodar all over the USA in a bus. And as far as, you know, I mean, we know that Srila Prabhupada, there was no one as forward-thinking and creative and innovative in his preaching as Srila Prabhupada. Just, you know, you could go on for, you know, a long time just talking about how Prabhupada, the things that he did that were unique and which made it possible, like how Prabhupada said that because I included the women, the movement is spreading. And so many things Prabhupada did in his unique and creative way. And, you know, so in this way, and even so many more ways, he was really like the embodiment of Jiva Goswami, so much like Jiva Goswami, doing so many different things, and at the same time being impeccable, you know, with his puja and sadhana and everything. So then we have, that covers the 6 Goswamis, and then we have 2 more, 8 Goswamis or Asta Manjaris. So Lokanath Goswami. Lokanath Goswami came to, for years he had been trying to free himself so he could come and just stay with Mahaprabhu in Navadvip Dham. And this is before Mahaprabhu took sannyas. But he was so attached to Mahaprabhu that he was coming there with the intention that I'm just going to stay with him and I'm never going to leave his side. And much to his shock and surprise, very shortly after he arrived in Navadvip, Mahaprabhu told him, I have a very special mission for you. I want you to go to Vrindavan and to begin to reestablish Vrindavan. And this was a shock. Vrindavan at that time was a forest. A little bit of something was there, but not much at all. It was a forest. And, to leave, there he is with Mahaprabhu. That's who he wants to be with. And he's being sent to the other side of the of the country. And, meaning that he's not going to see him. And he probably won't, who knows if he'll ever see him again. But yet he did it. He did it. Why? Because he was to show this example how service to the mission is higher. It's higher than personal presence. That being with the Lord, yes, it is wonderful, but serving his mission is the more important principle. So he exemplified that. And that was so difficult. Leaving, imagine leaving and going into that forest of Vrindavan. He was supposed to reveal Vrindavan, find these places, and he was calling out, "Oh, Vamsivat, where are you?" All these looking for these places. And, so similarly, Srila Prabhupada, he had to leave behind Vrindavan to go alone into the very dark forest of the material world. But he did that. He loved Vrindavan. He could stay there and be happy the rest of his life. But the mission and the service of his spiritual master was more important than his own spiritual gratification. So his task was to go into this dark, ignorant forest in the material world and push open the door to Vrindavan for the whole world. And he did do that. It is so extraordinary what Srila Prabhupada has done. To open the door to Vrindavan to everyone. That is what he did. And also, similar to Lokanath Goswami, he's famous for his extreme humility. We know how he didn't want to give initiation and to Narottam Das Thakur because he was extremely humble. And we don't know so much about him because he really didn't want anybody talking about him. And, similarly, Srila Prabhupada, despite all these astonishing things that he did, so much Shakti, and how all this, unfolded so swiftly and amazingly, and yet Srila Prabhupada always had this incredible, humble demeanor. It's something that George Harrison commented on in one interview, and he said, I always liked, Prabhupada was always so humble. He just was always talking about being servant to the servant to the servant. And that was so attractive. That Prabhupada did not establish the Bhaktivedanta Swami movement. He established the Hare Krishna movement. So many other missions, they're known by the head. But Prabhupada wanted everyone to know about Krishna, to love Krishna. And so in this way, I think, we all saw how Prabhupada, in his behavior, he was so humble. He was so humble. And so in this way, he embodied also these qualities and showed the similar example of serving the mission as a higher principle, same as Lokanath Goswami. So then we have Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who, as we know, in his real old age, miraculously wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And of course, because of his age, he had a very urgent mood in his writing because, at any moment he could be gone. And, but nevertheless, he did this huge work in a way that had never been really done before, a very scholarly and poetic way in Bengali. And he also mentions throughout the CC that he is always feeling that he's not writing it. He's just too old and he can barely see, but somehow Madan Mohan is writing through him. And, because he was afraid that he might not make it to the end, he was always, throughout Chaitanya Charitamrita, he does many summaries of what happens, like in Anjalila, and out of that concern that, I don't want them to not hear about this, so let me at least summarize it. And similarly, Srila Prabhupada, was very elderly, and so he had that urgent mood that, it's really urgent. I have to do this, and therefore I have to stay up every night to do it. And he was also afraid that he might not reach, like, the 10th canto. He might not, be able to do that. So the very first thing he did was to, maybe not the very first, but one of the first, was to do the Krishna book, which is a summary of the whole 10th canto, maybe, 60, 70 chapters of the 10th canto, that Prabhupada just condensed it all and wrote it, and then arranged to have pictures done to give us Krishna, to give us the 10th canto, in case he didn't arrive there. And such an amazing work he did. And then in the middle of his doing the regular translations of the Srimad Bhagavatam, suddenly he stopped. He stopped so that he could write the Chaitanya Charitamrita commentaries. And I think, most people know about this marathon that was done in order to get the Chaitanya Charitamrita done. And can you imagine how urgent that was? What if Prabhupada left and we didn't know about everything in Chaitanya Charitamrita? It's the most important text. I think Bhaktisiddhanta said that even if you didn't have this or that, the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, you have to have the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I think that's what he said. And, so if you hear about how Prabhupada pushed the devotees, this frantic push that was practically inhuman. I mean, it's a glorious story. Everybody was like, Prabhupada, that's impossible. And he's just, no, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. And so Prabhupada just whipped the devotees. And the devotees responded in the most amazing way, that they painted, did artwork together, they stayed up all night, they had schedules where there was no stopping. It was just incredible. But that was because Prabhupada saw this is urgent. I've got to get this to the world. I've got to get this out. And also while Prabhupada was writing, he always often said, I'm not writing these books. He would read the books and say, I'm reading them because Krishna wrote these books. And so he would relish reading them. And another point that's similar with Krishnadas Kaviraj is that I think if you read the CC, you will see that he describes all the feasts and the preparations that were served at different times so elaborately that you know he was a fantastic cook, because you couldn't know those things, you know. And similarly, Srila Prabhupada, you know, was an incredible chef, and he passed that all on to us. And so, you know, in this way, Srila Prabhupada was so much like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So, you know, Srila Prabhupada imbibed all these, you know, the spirit and the qualities and the characteristics and the missions of all of these Goswamis. Somehow he imbibed it all from all of them. And then, you know, like waves of nectar just flowing across the globe, he, by his presence, he put the whole world in touch with all of these Goswamis by his presence. And that's, you know, still rippling out into the universe. So, you know, it is really miraculous that one person could have so many qualities and be so powerful and do so much, and yet be so normal as a human being, so approachable, and such a decent person. So we are really the most fortunate people to have even the tiniest contact with him. Everybody, you know, it's not just the Prabhupada disciples. I have talked with younger generation and young devotees that, to me, I feel like, oh, I want to, you know, bow to them, that they have more understanding, more dedication, more love for Srila Prabhupada than many of the seniors. And we do know that Prabhupada used to say, when it was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disappearance or appearance, he would say the grandfather guru is much more easily approachable, much more merciful, much more showering his blessings, so take shelter. And, you know, in the same way, I see it practically that so many young people are receiving incredible blessings and mercy from Srila Prabhupada. That is available to everyone. You know, so it is important, you know, that year after year, we don't just get into a routine like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a disappearance day again. I heard some young devotees saying once, oh, I don't want to go and listen to them. I saw they were outside, they weren't participating. And when I saw them, because I was in this kind of deep mood of what was going on, and I was shocked that they would just be chit-chatting outside. And, you know, I said, what are you doing? You need to listen to this stuff. And they said, oh, you know, we don't like to hear all the sad stories and the, you know, old people crying about stuff, and it's the same old guys every year. You know? And, you know, I can understand where they're coming from, but I was like, no, you don't understand. You do not understand what this is, this disappearance day. This is something you have to learn things every year, you know, and if you put your mind and your attention to it, you'll see how important is Srila Prabhupada, and who is Prabhupada, and what is his mission. You know, we just can't become ritualized and, you know, on automatic, or just, yeah, you know, you have to keep things alive, and it means that we have to really put our consciousness to it. And, you know, if we understand really more and more about Prabhupada, then we will personally feel more of an urgent need, you know, for ourselves, you know, even just to practice or try to share, or try to spread, And, so that the world will really benefit and eventually appreciate what Srila Prabhupada brought, but we also have to first appreciate in order to share it. And, and that we should know that Prabhupada did not come to start a new religious movement. He came to change the way people see their lives and see the world. He came to give an alternative worldview than the one that's dominant right now, this materialistic, mechanistic, Western worldview. There is a whole nother way of viewing life, viewing the world, and that is what Prabhupada wanted to give. He didn't want just some new little sect or something. Prabhupada wanted to give eyes to people to see differently, to feel differently, to live differently. And, that worldview, which he was trying to share, that does have the potential to change the course of history. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not hype. It is a real thing that Prabhupada said, and Mahaprabhu said, and our previous acharyas said. So maybe we can't see. How is that possible? We can't even get along. We can't even manage a little temple, whatever. But it is a fact, and it will happen. In some way it will happen, and who will participate? Like at one time, Jesus Christ, that was just some little small cult. And, eventually everyone in the world knows about Jesus. And, so many things are based on his teachings. And this should be the future of Srila Prabhupada. It should be. Prabhupada said it will be. So, if we understand, if we can look beyond our tiny little world and our little agitations about this and that and the other thing, if we can, take our attention away from our little sphere and try to understand the importance of what we have in our hands, and how important it is for the world, for people, for everyone to understand this. Really, the thing that holds us is a lack of faith in this. That we don't get it enough. Our faith isn't deep enough. For some of it, I'm speaking from my own self. For some of us, that if we get this, if we understand it, how these principles, how this wisdom will change people and change the world, then naturally, we want to be part of that. We want to play a part, however tiny or small that may be. In every drama, there are, many different parts that have to be there in order for the drama to unfold, in order to tell a story. So everything any part that anyone plays, it's important. It's not that everyone is going to play a major role. It's not like that in any play. So, if we see that there's really no other more fortunate position in this world than to play any role in the unfolding of the drama of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy flowing into the world, if we can see that, that, there just is no more fortunate position. By Srila Prabhupada's grace only, we have, anything at all to do with this glorious mission. If we just look back a few minutes ago, we were just in the gutter somewhere, and Prabhupada picked us up and placed us next to these glorious personalities. and by his mercy, he allowed us to play a part in the drama. A lot of people don't like that we're playing parts, you know? But Prabhupada wanted it everywhere. He wanted to invite everyone into the drama. I just saw on Facebook before, a couple of days ago, a nice meditation on Prabhupada from the, I don't know his title, but he's the head of the Udupi mutts, all of the mutts. This is wonderful, highly respected and amazing sannyasi. And he said, just like Bhagirath brought the Ganga to India, Srila Prabhupada, Swami Srila Prabhupada, he said, brought the Bhakti Ganga to the whole world. So it is amazing. And, but the problem is that it's so easy to just be forgetful. We think about it for a minute and then, our consciousness just shifts back into whatever mode we're used to, at least for me. And therefore, constant reminding, constant reflection, constant thinking. And that's why Srila Prabhupada gave us everyday Guru Puja, everyday samsara prayers. Why? Because we just forget, and we have to remember, or we become, ungrateful, or have some sense of entitlement, or something that's just off. If we see our fortune, which every day we have to think about, so 3 times a day, and morning this, evening that, to keep us remembering that we are tiny, insignificant personalities that have received the highest blessing if we want to receive it. That somehow amongst the billions and billions of living entities that exist, Srila Prabhupada found us. And he called us, each one, everybody that's come. And I remember in the early days we used to think a lot like that, oh, Krishna sent this person, Krishna sent that person. Maybe we don't like them, maybe he's crazy, maybe this, but Krishna sent them. They must be special, because how many living entities are even wanting to know what the purpose of life is? How many people, want to dedicate their lives to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? How many? So everyone that's trying, has been called and therefore is special. So, if we can temper our material feelings that we have, or our conditioned nature, by this wisdom that, we are in a society of people who are at least trying to serve Prabhupada, trying to serve this mission, trying to give it to others. It's so glorious. So that is some meditation on Srila Prabhupada, and what an extraordinary personality we've come in touch with. It's every year maybe we see just a tiny bit more, a little bit more, and that's Krishna's grace. From in our heart, we are given, that's the Bhagavad Gita, and knowledge and remembrance and all of that, that's coming from within. That's Krishna who's, downloading information to us when we want it, when we desire it, when we're trying, when we're in the right spirit, and then he just gives us a little more piece of information. So anyway, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to all the devotees who are trying in any way at all to serve him. Hare Krishna.